All right, so Zach's been hard at work getting the rest of the motor put back together. He's got the compounds on. He's got the front accessories on. Waiting on a new water pump, so that's not in yet. But all the plumbing's done for the turbo stuff. Last time we finished up all the fuel system. Got the injectors in, the rail, CP3 in, stuff like that. Finished mounting the ECM with some bolts that were missing that we got new. Fuel filter housing is on, which we are going to run a Glacier diesel add a filter kit to this as well. And then the adapter plate is on. And then we got the clutch that we're about to put back on now, and then we're going to stab this thing in the truck. All right, we're back over at Zach's. Getting the motor put in, getting everything put back together, and we left you a kind of a cliffhanger on the last video about what he's got for plans for this thing. So I'll let him continue off where he's at, and you can watch us do some work.
Yeah, so, you know, if any of you guys know my other trucks, I got a few first gens, and I don't really know how to do anything on a budget build. So when we found out number 6 piston was melted in the old motor, if you remember from the last video, not only was that melted, but the deck surface on that motor was super wavy. So
got the motor in, wasn't too bad. Didn't break anything, which is always a plus. Compounds are going to be a tight fit. We're going to have to kind of massage some of the AC lines to get cleared up. But Zach's going to continue slapping parts together on this. I'll come back over and put the overhead and run valve lash and stuff like that at some point. And pretty soon it's going to get to the point, fire it up, got to get tranny in, clutch in, obviously all the front accessories and everything like that, but certainly getting there. All right, so it's been about a week and a half or so since we last got the engine in the truck. Zach's been hard at work getting everything put in. We'll take a closer look at that. He's pretty excited because he got his new set of wheels, picked them up from the polisher, just got them mounted up the other night, got them put on the truck, looking pretty sweet. Got new headlights in, exhaust is in, everything else like that. We're over here tonight. There we go. Gonna take the valve cover off, put all the push tubes and rockers in, set valve lash, help him get the fuel filter kit set up, and kind of see what else we can get put back together. But yeah, he's been hard at work and everything's looking good. It's getting close to being able to fire everything up. We got the guy coming over next week, I believe. He's gonna put a fresh set of tunes into the truck, and then we'll fire it up and go through all the braking procedure and everything else like that. So he's got his new battery cables in from CE Auto Electric. By far the best battery cable kit that you can buy. Super high quality stuff. If I made battery cables, this is how I would make them. They have the best of the best. Super, super flexible wiring. Really neat and tidy, how they do everything. So that's it. That's something that was on the list to do before we end up getting into this. But that's all wrapped up. Front of the accessories are on. New water pump came in. The AC lines got tweaked out of the way to fit the atmospheric turbo and that elbow. So that's all set. The harness is run. Of course, that's been there. Shameless plug. Power steering reservoirs and everything's kind of hanging off on the front right now. We're going to leave the front clip and everything open. Braking procedure for the engine. You got to run it for X amount of time with no coolant in it. So we're not going to have a serpentine belt on it. I'm not going to have a fan, anything like that. Just that way, with everything off, it's easier to access it if we have to get to something. So be it. Transmission's in, exhaust is in. Like I said, he's got his new wheels and tires on, new headlights on, and this thing's getting pretty damn close to getting ready. He wants to get this thing running out of the garage on its own power, I believe the 1st of October, which is couple weeks because we're about halfway through September. So he's got some miscellaneous work he's got to do. He wants to do some new front end ball joints, tie rod ends, stuff like that. Gotta get him to actually take videos and give us some updates when I'm not here. So he doesn't necessarily live close, but he doesn't live far either. He's been traveling a lot for work, so he's been really pushing to get some work done on this. So unfortunately, not a lot of real progress content for you, but we'll make sure that we get all the big steps here. I'll be here when it gets fired up for the first time. And yeah, so let's get the valve cover off, let's find wherever he put the push tubes, and we're gonna go from there. All right, got all the overhead in. We got it all cleaned up off camera. Everything's installed and just hand tight right now. We're using the original bridges, making sure that all the dots face the same way. The underside of the bridge has, can't get that one. There you go. One side is a circle and the other side is oblonged. It doesn't really matter which way they go. It's just best practice to have everything face all the same direction, and that's the direction they're gonna go. The way that I set all these overheads in place is I take a Allen socket, back out the adjusting screw all the way, and that'll allow you to tighten down all your mounting bolts without having to worry about as much spring tension. Once everything's snugged down, you can run all these in by hand, and that'll make sure that your push tube or push rod, whatever, doesn't come out of the socket of the rocker when you go to bar the engine over and find TDC. So we'll get these all snugged down and then we'll get it barred over. All right, so we're barring it over and we're watching the exhaust valve on number 1, and that's on its way up. We're gonna watch until the intake valve on number 1 just starts to move and get tension on it, which is right there because both push rods have tension. And then we can work from the back forward, doing valve adjustment. At this point is when I torque down. If I adjust the valves, that's when I torque the bolt to make sure that when you're torquing it, there's no pressure on it coming up from the spring. You'll do intake, so intake and exhaust on number 6, and then intake on 5, exhaust on 4, intake on 3, exhaust on 2, and nothing on 1, and then bar it over 180 and do the reverse.
Said screw it, called up D&J, ordered a 5.9 Extreme. So that's their, kind of intermediate level build. It's a stock rod, stock pistons, bottom end, all new OEM Cummins parts, but it's got upgraded main studs. It's got 625 head studs. Their flowed cylinder head. It's got a towing cam. So pretty stout little setup, rated for 800 horse. So ordered up one of those. It was a few weeks to get it. Got that in. Had a buddy of mine who was upgrading to a different compound setup on his 06. So I bought a 363 472 combo off him with the Crazy Carl's piping kit. So got that. Sent everything out for powder coat. Swapped in a nice new Steed Speed manifold, just kind of clean up everything. Another bummer we found out when we pulled the old motor apart was, I was sold a bag of goods again. So it supposedly had 60 over exergies in it that were pretty well new. Well, I pulled them apart and talking with a buddy of mine, and he's like, well, where's the QR code? Scan the QR code. Well, lo and behold, the injectors were a bunch of junk cores. They were actually out of a 04 or 05. It was a mixed bag. So said, screw that. Called Exergy, got some 60 overs and a 10 millimeter CP3. And then to support that, running a fleece in-tank lift pump with Glacier Diesel fuel filtration. So she's got some goodies in her. Should be all of 700, I'm hoping, and it should tow nice with the compounds. The goal is a 38-foot goose behind this with both of my first gens. Go to some shows and actually get the trucks, the first gens, out the attention they deserve. They just sit in the barn way too much. So that's what we got. And next week, my buddy Jake's coming over to load up some tunes, and we'll see if it makes some noise.
Sounds like fun and a much long overdue project that we got here that we're all looking forward to getting wrapped up and on the road. So stay tuned for part 3 when this thing makes some smoke and make some noise, and we'll go through and do the hot torque and the braking procedure and everything like that. And we'll go through with you guys the process that D&J outlines for all that. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.